Shark Week happens on the Discovery Channel the week of July 20th. Shark Week freaks me out. Does anybody ever watch it? No? Has anybody ever heard of it?
No.
Yes. Okay. When I was a kid, I remember sitting in the living room with my dad, and my dad had his chair, right? You know, dads always have their chair, and my dad's chair was right in front of the television, which when dad wasn't home, it was my chair. It was the most comfortable chair that we had in the living room. And we were watching something with alligators. And my brother and I were sitting on the floor watching TV with dad, you know, in the old days when the kids had to sit on the floor because every time dad needed the channel changed, you had to get up and change it for him, right? And we were watching something about alligators, and suddenly out of the corner of my eye, I see my dad move, and I look over, and he is pulling his legs up into his chair to protect himself from the alligators on the TV. Right? Right? Have we all done that? We see something on DTV, we're like, that's how I feel about Shark Week. One year I thought, okay, I'm gonna watch Shark Week. I'm gonna learn about sharks. But I have friends that swim with sharks, and I think they're crazy. I think they're nuts. Why would you willingly go live with something that eats things our size? Right? They're mammals, yes. So, but they're crucial for maintaining a healthy marine ecosystem. Right? So as apex predators, they regulate prey populations, they ensure a balanced food web, and they prevent any single species from becoming dominant. Their presence also indirectly influences habitats like coral reefs and seagrass beds, impacting the overall biodiversity and resilience of the ocean. Some shark species contribute to carbon sequestration and even inspire innovations in areas like medicine. So they maintain a healthy, balanced food web. They protect habitats. They are part of climate change mitigation. They have economic benefits, and their scientific and medical advancements based on sharks. So why are we afraid of them?
But they want to keep our species down.
Because they want to keep our species down. I don't know about you, Reverend Gail, but I have not seen a shark walking up on the beach going, hey, you human, come here. I'm going to eat you. Right? Right? They usually let us know that they're coming because there's a fin in the water and somebody yells what? Shark! It's Jaws. Yeah. What if we recognize them for all the benefits that they give us?
Put them in Congress.
Put them in Congress. That's funny. That's funny. You know, Ernest Holmes tells us that we should celebrate our unique existence, no matter what others think. Do you think the shark is celebrating its unique existence?
Damn straight.
Right? The shark doesn't care what Reverend Eileen thinks. The shark doesn't care what's on, what people think of from Jaws, right? There's a whole generations that aren't caught up on Jaws, but boy, a lot of us were afraid to go to the beach, right? The shark doesn't care. The shark is doing its thing. Yeah, if you upset it, if you get in its way, if it smells blood, it might come after you. But generally, they don't care. That we're not what they're looking for. They're looking for seals. Yeah, well, the seals eat things too, right? So it's all a part of the circle of life. That's why when I get in the ocean, I wear the brightest color bathing suit I can put on. I'm looking for scuba diving, a wetsuit that is bright yellow. I want to look like Catherine in the water. I don't want them to mistake me for a dark seal at all. I want to stand out. Not only that, it's safer, so the lifeguards can see you better. But we should celebrate the unique existence of ourselves just like the sharks do. So Ernest Holmes says, you exist so that divine feeling, fire, imagination, and creativity may be expressed through you. The Spirit comes to you with a new and fresh creativity. You need not ask what others have done or how they've done it. Be yourself and express life as you find it. Never imitate. What's that saying? Don't be like anyone else, be yourself, because
Everybody else is already saying.
everybody else is already taken, right? Everybody else is already taken, so we want to be who we are. Even if it feels weird, even if it feels like nobody's gonna like me, be who you are. Because I'm here to tell you, if you're not being who you are, if you're being who you think somebody wants you to be, they're not gonna like that version. Because no matter what, we can see through it. We can see through it. Eventually, somebody's gonna go, yeah, what I'm seeing is not actually who they are. Right? So be yourself. Be yourself without any hesitation.
God don't make no junk.
God don't make no junk. I read this quote, you are no less miraculous than whales and rainbows. Wow. You are no less miraculous than whales and rainbows. So like the sharks are often misunderstood, right? But they're actually magnificent creatures and a vital part of the web of life. So the black tip reef shark, I have to say that slowly, is found around the world along the coastlines of the Pacific Ocean. And while they inhabit a really large range, the individual black tip sharks are homebodies, ranging within a small area near coral reefs. They're considered a keystone species, and they are vital for maintaining other species within their ecosystem. They're agile swimmers, and they're known as chameleons, having a good ability to camouflage themselves to avoid predators. They also hunt and hang out in groups, right? So in their habitat in the coral reef, if that coral reef is being damaged by ocean acidification, which occurs when the ocean absorbs carbon and becomes acidified, right? That acidification degrades the physical structure of those reefs, putting the entire habitat of these black tip reef sharks' food supply at risk. This affects all creatures that are living in that reef, not just the sharks, but every living creature. So what is it that we can learn from sharks that we can apply to humans and how we relate to the world? Oftentimes people are misunderstood, or ideas are misunderstood. Like the sharks are misunderstood. My favorite thing to say is, okay, God, where's the gift in this? Where's the gift in this? 2009, I was working at Hitachi Data Systems. I had a cush job. I worked for this woman that I had worked for previously at HP. I liked her so much, I followed her to the new company. She was a VP of marketing. She and I were like perfect peas in a pod. She would think it, I would say it. She'd say, thank you. And I would already be doing what she was thinking, right? That's the kind of relationship we had. And there was some shift going on in the company and she got laid off. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna be the best I can be for this new person that's taking on her role, and I'm gonna be amazing. This new guy, this new boss, he's gonna think I'm fantastic because I am. So I'm doing my job, and then I got laid off. Now, I had just bought my first house. I had cashed in my 401k from Hewlett Packard because the housing prices had dropped in 2008. Remember the market crashed? And I thought, and something woke me up in the middle of the night. Has anybody ever had that? Or something wakes you up in the middle of the night and you think, are you kidding? Because this woke me up. It said, buy a house. And I sat up in bed and I said, with whose good looks and whose money? Because I don't have either. Right? Laughed at myself and went back to sleep. But it kept waking me up. I had a great rental. I loved the house I was renting. My landlord was in New York. He didn't bother me. And if we did talk, we were friends, right? I had a really awesome place. I was walking distance to my church. Why would I want to give this up? Go buy a house. I sat up in bed like the third time it happened and I said, all right, God, come on. Seriously? Uh-uh. A single woman, an executive assistant, I don't have the money for this. Mm-mm. Go buy a house. So I said, all right, I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. So I went and bought this house on faith, knowing that God provides, right? Right? The universe will always provide. And then I get laid off 3 months after God bought my house. I had no savings. And I had nothing, no severance, nothing. What am I going to do? I walked out to my backyard, which I loved. It was huge. I had all these plans to put all these fruit trees out there. It was going to be fantastic. And I said, all right, God, you and we're going to make this work, okay? And just then my former landlord called. Hey, Eileen, what's up? How are you doing? It's like, oh, you won't believe what just happened. And I told him. He said, you know, you were my tenant for 10 years. In fact, you helped me pay off that house, so I no longer have a mortgage on it. Thank you very much. I have $10,000. I can wire it to you right now. You are not losing that house. What? I have $10,000. I will wire it to you tomorrow because it was Sunday. You're not going to lose the house. I went, whoa, 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 oh, hold on. I tell you what, if I need it, I'll call you. If I need it, I'll call you. He said, okay. All right, I'll keep it handy. And so I made my job for the next few weeks finding a job. And I found a job at this little startup. It felt exciting when I went there. I was offered another job because I had talent and I had forgotten that I had talent that people wanted. I misunderstood myself. I misunderstood my higher power. I went to panic mode. Hello, humanness, right? I went and started at this little startup that paid me less than my previous job did, but it was going to be enough to pay my mortgage. I thought, I'll take this job in Palo Alto. It's far away. My previous job was maybe 15-minute drive. This was 45-minute drive. It'll be okay. And I left that job almost 14 years later to come here, right? I retired from that job and landed here. I am no less miraculous than whales and rainbows. You are no less miraculous than whales and rainbows. If we turn our worries, our stress, our pressures, our disdain over to our higher power, it can be taken care of. My mother used to do this great thing. My mom would get so frustrated. She was an elementary school teacher. But when she taught 7th grade life science, whoo, she had to do sex ed for those kids. Yeah, she'd come home exhausted because she always told them, you can put any question you want in the question box and I will answer them in class. Honestly, some of the questions, I thought, oh, seriously, do not let me go to your classroom. No, but she honored that. She read all of them and she answered them all. But she would go in her backyard when she had had enough and she would throw her hands up in the air and she would say, all right, God, it's yours. I'm done. Here, and walk away. I thought, she's crazy. Her neighbors must think she's crazy. My mother is crazy. Boy, she had something. Because when I walked out in my backyard and I said, all right, God, you and me, we're going to be okay, right? We're going to be okay. Because my vision is for a place where I can support other people that are going through transition. I can support people that need a safe place to lay their head. And that's always been my life ever since that. But I've always had people have a place where they can lay their head. Come stay with me for a few months. Come live in my house for a few weeks, whatever it is, people in my life, I tend to collect them. Always really good people, always people I know. But And that's a part of surrounding myself with a loving community. Right? That's the next thing. We have to surround ourselves with a loving community, just like the shark surrounded itself with other sharks. So they could take care of each other. That's what we do in this loving community. We take care of each other, right? Somebody's having a hard day, we pray about it. We pick up the phone, we call, we say, what is it that we can do for you? How can I support you? If somebody walks in this room and they're feeling a little icky, they're greeted with hugs and smiles and handshakes. Because we need community. Boy, that's one thing we learned in COVID, right? We need community. If nothing else, we're here for community. How have you internalized any notions that you should go it alone? Boy, as a strong, independent woman, in my head, I can do that. I don't need anybody to do that for me. But then I'm on the phone yesterday with a friend of mine who said that she had to do all of these things that she had been asking her husband to do because they're having a big event later on this month. And of course, her husband was off doing his thing again and not taking care of what she asked him to do. And I said, isn't it funny to be a strong, independent woman in a marriage? Because we want that idea of a spouse. Hello, Disney created this, right? Sitcoms created this. A spouse that will take care of all these things for us so we can be the happy housewife. And it doesn't happen. So what do? Instead of getting disappointed, we know that that's not going to happen. She knew that he wasn't going to follow through on these things. So she called her friends and said, hey, come help me. And they did. And he came home last night and he went, I was going to do that. She said, yeah, now you don't have to. He said, oh, cool, thanks. Right? Who ever said that we had to do it on our own? She didn't feel like, oh, I was going to have to go out there and dig those holes. I was going to have to go and fix that lawn. I was going to go have to fix that sprinkler. I was going to go have to clean that corner of my yard. No, she called her community and they showed up with pizza and soda and water, and they showed up. She was surrounding herself with loving community. We all really rely on other people for our successes and our failures. John Donne wrote, no person is an island. We succeed by surrounding ourselves with this loving community, with people who cherish our unique abilities and lift us up. See, as a community, we are stronger. As a community, we could do more. The last thing I want to talk about is radical self-love. Radical self-love. As we begin to embrace the gloriousness of who we are, we can embrace that radical self-love, which leads to radical love of others. Sonia Reese Taylor writes that radical self-love is not an impossibility. It is your inherent sense to self. You came here to this planet as unapologetic radical love. You showed up as unapologetic radical love. Don't cover that light. Let that light shine. To live a life of radical love means that we need to question all the ways we have learned to hide ourselves, to not trust our intuition, to fear others because that's what we've been told to do. We have to question all of that. Taylor writes that to live a life of radical self-love, she says, it demands that we look unflinchingly at our current set of beliefs about ourselves and the world and get willing to explore them. She says, I call this the act of being fear-facing. Fear-facing is not an absence of fear, but the interrogation of it. It is to look directly at the source of the fear and assess if we are truly in peril or if we are simply afraid of the unknown. when I watch Shark Week on TV and I'm feeling afraid, what am I afraid of? The unknown. What's gonna happen one day when, it won't, but my husband says, come on, let's go shark diving. He would never say that. What am I gonna say? No? Yes. Right, first I might go, what the, who are you, right? To embrace ourselves fully, we have to let go of the stories that society has told about us. We have to let go of those stories. That's their story, not your story. That's somebody else's fear, not your fear. You know, my mother was terrified of heights. And people would say to me, oh, are you terrified of heights too? And no. No. Well, why not? Because that's hers. Not mine. I'm not taking that. Do I get up high and panic a little? Of course. But am I scared of heights? No. No. We have to dive deep and recover our spiritual whole selves. Our spiritual whole selves. Ernest Holmes in a writing that he called Religious Science in 1932, he wrote, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. Thus, the inherent nature of humanity is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We shall do well to listen to this inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope, of a love beyond our fondest dreams, of a freedom that the soul craves. Yeah. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. And I tell you that this last week I went and visited Bruce. I went and visited Bruce in Cloverdale. I was running errands. I had to go down to Santa Rosa and I stopped in and he sends you all his love. And I, of course, I carried with me all of your love to him. And when I got there, I was told, oh, I think he's upstairs coloring. I went, oh, that's a fun thing to do. So I went upstairs and there was these two gentlemen up there and they were coloring with an A. And we were chit-chatting and he's coloring away and, you know, we were just a short visit, but having fun anyway. And I got home and I wrote Glenn an email and I said, we were visiting him and he was upstairs coloring. And she said, he likes to color? She said, I didn't know that about him. I said, he probably didn't either, but he was having a good time. He was having a good time. He was talking to the gentleman across from him. And then I showed up with a friend of mine. We talked about dogs. We talked about the coloring process. We had a great time. He was expressing himself in a new way. Right? My father never would have done that. That wasn't men. There's a time when I wouldn't have done that. That's not an adult thing to do, but I love it. I love doing things like that, but letting that creative spark roll up. So I invite you to this week, look at who you are and look at what parts of your life are you downplaying? What parts of you are you not paying attention to? What parts of you are you not expressing in public? If you feel like dancing down the street as you're walking, then dance. Smile and say hello to people. They might laugh, but chances are they're laughing because you're expressing joy, not because they think you're nuts, right? They're probably going to smile and say hello back. That's your assignment for the week, is express your beautiful self as best you can. Can we do that?
Yes.
Yes. Janet's like, I'm in. I saw that hand. What, John's in. John, I saw you driving a different vehicle yesterday.
Oh, yeah, was the black one?
Yeah, the black one, I usually see you in the red one.
That I had, was parked in Irene's garage or in her driveway for several months.
Oh.
Because I was having registration problem.
Oh, it was parked at Irene's, so it needed to be run, it needed to be out on the road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, I was like, that guy looks familiar, wrong car. Wait, John, you're in the wrong car. That's how I recognize you all, by the way. I see your vehicles. I'm like, oh, so. So, yeah, community. Community. And being your true self, expressing the divine that is within you. Let's pray, shall we? So knowing that there is only one power, one source, one energy that moves in, through, and around each and every one of us. I call it God. You can call it whatever it is that you want to call it, your higher power, the divine expression, consciousness, spirit. You could just call it with a capital I. Because it doesn't care what you call it. It is an energy that moves in, through, and around each and everything, and its nature is love. Its nature is joy, its nature is peace, its nature is power and beauty, light and laughter. And we get to be a part of that. We get to be the individualized expressions of that one. And as we do that, we embody it and we let it shine as each one of us individually. See, we are a part of that. We started as a thought in the mind of the beloved and became these beautiful babies that grew into these magnificent, magnificent people. We have beautiful gifts to share with the world, and being who we are is a part of those gifts, because the world needs the joy, the world needs the love, the world needs the peace, the power, the healing, the acceptance. So uncover that part of yourself, uncover it, and know that you are perfection in all of its forms. No matter what might be going on in your life right now, no matter if you're feeling a little bit of unease or dis-ease, know that it's temporary, that the universe is abundant, that whatever it is that you need is available to you, that all you need to do is declare it so. So for all those who are declaring a healing, I declare it so. For all of those who are declaring abundance in all of its forms, I declare it so. For all of those who are declaring love, I declare it so. And for all of those who are declaring peace on our planet, I declare it so. I declare it so because the divine is already doing it. The moment we think it through, the moment we speak it out loud, the moment we write it down on paper, Spirit is saying, yes, yes, yes. Yes, it is yours. Yes, it is yours. The universe is yours to play with. Play with it. Play with it. Test it. Test it out. Universe, I'm open for more love in my world, and see what happens. Universe, I am open for more abundance in my life. See what happens. Universe, I am open for a perfect healing right now, and see what happens. I'm knowing these to be the truth for each person that hears my voice, for each person who knows someone who needs to hear these words, for those people who know someone who needs to hear these words. I'm knowing this for the entire planet, that there is a good in the world and we ought to have it. I am grateful for this knowledge. I'm grateful for this teaching. I am grateful for this community where we can remind each other that we are perfection and that we are loved. And so I just release this prayer into the law of mind, knowing that it's already done. And if you'll join me in just letting this go by simply saying, and so it is.